The U.S. presidential election is fucking. It's crazy than ever. It's gonna be what we talk about for the next 2 to 3 days. I think up until November 5th in America's time. But the Washington Post, which is one of the U.S.'s biggest news outlets, news articles, news websites, have they've had a decade-long tradition of endorsing a candidate whenever it was time to endorse a candidate. And this time, for the very first time in over a decade, they have not taken a side. They've gone neutral. They haven't picked Kamala. They haven't picked Trump, and people on both ends are now fucking raging, and it's caused them to lose 250,000 paid subscribers, which is stupid.
250,000.
Yeah, for sure.
Quarter of a million, probably more by now.
I would say so.
Yeah.
And also, it's probably stopped prospective incoming subscribers who would have,
of course.
Huge revenue loss.
Stupid. Now, I don't know. I think at this point in time, you can't not pick a side. I feel like you have to pick a side.
Yeah. I feel like especially in America, where everyone like is so, like part of their identity is either picking a side. Like there's no such thing as like neutrality.
Yeah.
It's so important. And I don't know why they wouldn't though. Like if you have a tradition of doing it, why wouldn't you?
So I'm conflicted on this one. Firstly, I do, as we all know, newspapers and media in general do wield too much power. And certainly in my country, in the UK, there's a newspaper which is hugely controversial and, dare I say, massively despised by a lot of the nation, The Sun, you may be familiar. And they do the same thing. They endorse a candidate, as do the majority of newspapers. And every single year since, I think, the 1950s, whoever The Sun has endorsed has been the winner, right? Which is just gives you an example of how this power works. So there's an argument for newspapers not doing this and for paring back the power. And I'm kind of on that side, right? However, this was not a committee getting together and saying, hey, we have too much power, let's not do it. It was Jeff Bezos, who owns it, who is pro-Trump, who suddenly said, no, we're not going to endorse. So actually, really, even though they've not endorsed a candidate, what they've done is endorsed Trump, because they're a left-leaning newspaper who would have overwhelmingly endorsed Kamala Harris because it's Jeff Bezos and he's very pro-business, anti-tax, pro-Trump, whatever. Yeah. In sitting on the fence, he's being pro-Trump. And I think final point on this, the reason why I'm so angry is it's cowardice. If you're going to endorse Trump. Own your SHIT. Yeah. Don't be a coward.
Yeah. I think for one is that it's really interesting that it's owned by Jeff Bezos. So like now. And I have a hot take / theory. I think that he saw what Elon went through and he was like, nah, let me stay out of it. Like you see how like Elon caught so much flack over the last like 2 months. People are just dunking on him, people making fun of him. He's been ridiculed so much. His company's stocks have been going down ever since his endorsement of Trump. And I think he just saw that and he was like, let me step aside.
I take your point, but I would argue that if he wanted to do that, if he wanted to avoid any kind of controversy, he just wouldn't have got involved. Because when he bought the paper for like, I think it was, I want to say $250 million, he basically said like, I'm not going to, I take no editorial decisions whatsoever. But he's now planted, I forget the guy's name, and he's actually English, that he's planted within the newspaper who is now taking these kind of editorial decisions. And what else has happened is, alongside the subscribers that have gone, so many of the editorial team have now left, right? They've resigned in protest. But of course, these are liberal people. So now they're going to be replaced with people who are slightly more on the side of Trump and Bezos. So there's various things at play here. But the bottom line is he's sat on the fence.
I'm thinking from the perspective of the public as well. Like, no newspaper is going to be outrightly being like, we're trying to influence your decision and we're actually influenced by these people. Yeah. Most newspapers want to appear neutral because that's where the credibility lies. But like now that's just confirmation that media is very much.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I think also for like, it's such a silly decision not to endorse one of them. Even if you were picking the more unpopular one, even if you did pick Trump, let's say, you still would have pissed one group of people. I feel like now with not picking anybody, you've pissed both people off.
Absolutely.
And like
yeah.
I don't know. I think the damage just like doubles or triples even.
I totally agree. And I think there's a lot of people, like you say, on both sides who just disrespect indecision, right? Yeah. But I think as well, let's not lie, Elon Musk paid, what was it, $44 billion for Twitter, right? And Jeff Bezos paid huge amounts for Washington Post. The reason why they buy these outlets is because they themselves want power and they want influence, right? Money and having all these companies is not enough. They actually want to shape the politics of the world. So I would say that the very reason why they're doing it and why Elon Musk, which is a discussion for another day or another year perhaps, but they want this power, they want to have this influence. So it's no surprise that he's done it. I just wish he was not such a, like I say, a coward, is I think is the watchword for Bezos in this.
How do you feel? How do you feel? I think for one is that there's obviously strength in numbers, and 250,000 paid subscribers is gonna cause a big dent in their numbers and stuff. Yeah. I wonder if that makes them go back and should we endorse somebody?
But this is it though, because let's not forget about Bezos's insane personal fortune, right? He doesn't actually have anything to lose here, if you see what I mean. If you look at the net gain, yes, there's probably people that have gone, you're a bit of a wuss for being on the fence, and yes, some of his stocks might have fallen, but really,
he'll be fine.
He's been fine. He's probably, there's a lot of, let's not forget as well, people always forget, and myself being one of them, it's not just people he influences, it's his close circle, right? If you're a businessman that high up, your main concern is, right, I want to be able to fuck up the environment and I want to be able to not pay any tax. And under Trump, right, those are two things you can guarantee. He doesn't give a shit about climate change, and he will reduce tax for corporations and billionaires. So the people that are in Jeff Bezos' ear, the country clubs he has to go to, the tennis courts he goes to, the cocktail parties he goes to, they will all be extreme pro-Trumpers. So he will have to face them. And if he'd have endorsed Kamala, then that would have been, do you know what I mean? In his personal life, he would have faced criticism. So his view is, I want to do what's best for me rather than what's best for the country and therefore the world. And it's pathetic.
Yeah. I feel like with the publication as well, it's not really a case of, I feel like when you pick a side, let's say that you do lose subscribers from one side, you end up, I feel like if you lean harder on the side that you did pick,
you gain more from that side.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right.
I feel like in difference, it's probably the least profitable outcome.
Completely
that you can pick.
Yeah. And even with their, I guess, intention, because the whole idea of being neutral is, oh, we don't want to ruffle any feathers, but really you've ruffled all feathers now. You pissed off everybody. Even the people in the middle. A lot of them use these newspapers or use these celebrities' endorsements as kind of a guideline for who they should vote for. I think, actually, I think that's kind of weak as fuck. In defense of the news I can't believe I'm defending fucking Jeff Bezos right now. But in defense of Jeff Bezos, I think that if you're a human, if you're a person, and you're waiting on the Washington Post to say who they are endorsing, and that's going to decide who you're going to vote for, I feel like you need to do a lot more research than that.
I fully agree. I think what it does, though, is it adds to the conversation, right? So it's say, for example, Fox News, as we all know, very, very right-wing, pro-Republican, pro-Trump media outlet. If the Washington Post had have endorsed Trump, they would have, the anchors would be sitting there like this. They'd be talking about all these things. They go wild, right? It's enthusiasm. Whereas if it was Harris, they'd be a little bit more downbeat, and the viewers watching that would understand. So do you see what I mean? So I agree with you fully that if you're a human being literally saying, I want to wait to see what the Washington Post says, it's a bit lame. But I think it's a psychological impact. You know what I mean? It gives momentum to the campaign team. It contributes to the wider conversation. It's a huge thing. It's a huge thing. And of course, there will be, as you say, those bizarre humans who specifically wait for that endorsement, which is very strange.
Yeah, I feel it would most definitely be the opportunity there that would be to sway votes for
absolutely
any of the politicians being endorsed. But yeah, I think obviously a lot of people think about the way that we do get informed. How do we do it? We consume media. We consume what the debates are being had. What I don't know. What the policy is, and we realistically, the way that we gain access to that is through media. So I think it's just another form for people to get educated. But I still don't understand the choice to not have a stance, especially for an American publication. I feel politics, it's such an integral part of the American identity. People cut off family members for being on the other side.
Yep.
So like I just don't understand why they would do it.
Yeah, and I think with that is that like not everybody needs to declare them picking a side or not even picking a side. It's just kind of weird when a news publication that's been doing that for the last 2 to 3 elections go like this time we're good, I got nothing to do with it. It's like, no, you have a responsibility to
But it is.
let
But
your
this is my
people
point:
know.
is he was too scared to be pro-Trump.
Yeah.
Because he also wasn't. As I say, it is a left-lean, it's a liberal newspaper, right? So my point is, him not endorsing was an endorsement of Trump because everyone knew, everyone expected them to endorse Kamala. He would not have, as I say, other than his inner circle, he would not have surprised anyone. But sorry, I say he. Like, it's not a he. This is the whole point.
Yeah.
This is the issue: is Bezos has got involved in a political decision by the newspaper, whereas he shouldn't. He's the owner. Yeah, it's ridiculous. It really is.
I was watching a podcast over the weekend, and bro, America is so fucked. Okay, so basically, there was
Hot take from Abdel. That's the headline. America's so fucked.
dude, there was like a, obviously, so like it was a podcast, and then it got to the point where like they were saying like who their sponsors are and stuff, and one of their sponsored segments was Stake, the gambling
Yes.
betting
Yeah.
company.
Yes.
And dude, I didn't know this. I just found this out over the weekend. In the United States, you can bet on who wins the presidency.
Oh yeah, you can do that. No, you can do that all over the world. You can do it in the UK, in New Zealand. You can. Yeah, yeah. It's political. Oh, you can bet on which minute. You can go to TAB and say which is the next Labour or National MP to lose their job.
Yeah.
If you offer money on something that has an outcome, a gambling place will accept it. Yeah, trust me.
Bro, how fucked is that?
Yeah, it's insane. Yeah, because then you can influence. Yeah, absolutely, it's fucked. Yeah,
You can
yeah.
put money on who wins the presidency.
Yeah, it's insane. Yeah.
Now, can I ask you guys, who would you put your money on?
Oh my god.
I would put it on Kamala.
Yeah.
I would. I think because, firstly, the Puerto Rico joke, which we've not discussed.
Oh, yes, the Tony-
This is in
Tony
Tony Hinchcliffe.
Hinchcliffe.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because very, very quickly, I saw, bizarrely, a few weeks beforehand, I wasn't aware of who this guy was. And I saw a clip of him on his show that he has.
Kill Tony.
That's
Yes.
it. Because there was a British, a London black MC who was on there and who was in the audience.
Yeah.
And Tony panned to him. He was like, who's this guy? Quincy. And he was
yes.
like, I'm a producer.
Yes,
and then
yes.
they were like, oh, you're from the UK. You produce
Running
music.
Bandana.
Yeah, that's it. And then they played his song out loud.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, whoa,
This is
it's really good
impressive.
because we don't understand that we have urban, Afro-Caribbean culture in London. They just don't get that, right? They think we're all fucking Harry Potter or whatever, right? So then 2 weeks later, he makes a joke about Puerto Rico. There's a lot of Puerto Ricans in Pennsylvania, a lot. I also think that polling companies are hedging their bets and putting everything on 50-50 because they don't want to be wrong.
Yes.
I think the race isn't as tight as it's making out to be. I think Kamala will win. I think she'll win comfortably. And I think there'll be huge protests and another insurrection.
Yeah,
for sure.
maybe. Mel, what do you think?
Oh.
I know this is kind of like
It's
putting you on
tough.
the
It's
spot.
tough.
I know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do also think Kamala, like for a number of reasons. Like obviously, Trump being Trump, but also he is probably on the way to what Joe Biden is, geriatric.
Agreed.
It's not that far.
It's not that
literally
far.
not far at all.
Like
Few
he's
years,
saying that he's different, but he's not.
He's not.
And also that like whole, I don't think we talked about this, but his wife taking a stance against abortion, like
Boom.
a
Oh, wait,
complete
what is that? What is
stance.
that? What is that?
Like that just sorry.
What happened?
She like literally took a stance against abortion. Like she had a whole campaign just saying that. And
Well,
it's
aren't
in direct opposite of his policy.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay.
And-
Oh, against it.
And crucially, that's a really good, interesting point because a lot of the support, the groundswell for Trump, right, is 18 to 39-year-old men, whereas the driving support for Kamala is women. And I'm telling you now, women are overwhelmingly more likely to vote than young men.
Yeah.
Young men are, I don't know, it's like a macho thing, right, to go and take part in something, whereas women in the US, overwhelmingly, it's something and dare I say it, there are obviously a lot of non-working women compared to men in the US. They have time. A lot of people have time. So I'm telling you now, the support for Kamala is predominantly people who are more likely to vote than the supporters for Trump. 100%.
Yeah.
right.
I also think that with the Sims episode projected.
Simpsons?
Yeah, the Simpsons.
Yeah, I saw.
Yeah.
That is crazy. So basically, they predicted that Kamala is gonna win.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well.
Yeah.
Will the Simpsons curse be broken?
Yeah.
Who
Let's
knows?
see. Let's see.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I don't know. For me, I really dislike both almost equally.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's the hottest take so far. Flipping heck.
I think it's always like every 4 years, it's always like picking the lesser of two evils. And
Yeah,
they're both
yeah,
like
agreed.
sinister evil. But I think
I want to hear more from you
Yeah?
on this, Abdel. Please. What is you're entitled to your opinion?
Yeah.
How do you equate Kamala with Trump? What has she done that makes him as bad as an abortion-hating rapist like Trump?
okay, I think Kamala is slightly less evil than Trump. But I think having like a convicted rapist as a president is insane for one. But Kamala's not that far off, yo. Like not as in she's a convicted blah blah blah, but her policy is just I don't know.
Such as? Give us one.
I can't.
Okay. there we
But
go.
basically, like their border policies is really not that far off of Trump's.
Agreed.
Like it's almost two sides of the same coin. It sucks. I don't know, but I think that the way that Obama has been putting in work the last like 2-3 months, you think he's running for president?
Yeah,
yo.
you
Like,
would. Yeah.
He's
for
doing
sure.
like fucking interviews with. He's doing like hour-long interviews with like this guy that like cuts his hair and stuff. And yeah, I don't know. I think there's a missed opportunity from both candidates to go on opposing media sides. Like Kamala not going on Rogan was a huge mistake.
Agreed.
Trump not going on like 60 Minutes or going on maybe like even fucking Call Her Daddy. Like him not
Yeah.
tapping into that audience and like pleading his case or like her pleading her case is gonna be a huge missed opportunity. But
Yeah.
if I were to bet, I don't know, man. I don't know. I actually
No, go on. Spit your truth, man. Come on. If you think it's Trump, man, you think it's Trump. That's
I
fine.
think MAGA wins.
Okay, so
I
we've
think
got
MAGA
one
wins.
for Trump, we got two for Kamala.
Yeah.
This is not our political opinions. This is just who we predict
Yeah,
will
yeah.
win. All
Minus
right,
space
well,
of The Simpsons.
well, I guess we'll find out later on this week.
Yeah.
Thursday morning, yeah, we're gonna go. Oh, Mel, you better be here.
Yeah, I don't know.